How are
Hi,
you?
happy New Year.
Happy holidays to everyone. I guess you could still say that. And
I
it's
think
beginning
so.
of January. So as Leslie said, we really want to speak about affordability. It's like you read about it, you hear about it all over the news. And we want to speak about it in conjunction with the inventory or the low inventory, especially in Northeast, so Westchester and in the
Surrounding
suburban
areas,
market.
yeah.
Yeah, for sure. Um, not so much maybe in Manhattan, but definitely in the suburban markets. So different ways to counter that. And I'm sure, Maria, you could speak about what the mortgage industry is doing and offering to kind of improve the situation.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, look, home affordability is, driven by, I guess as you were saying, right, like low inventory, what people still are considering like higher interest rates, although interest rates are a good percent lower right now than they were this time last year,
Right,
which, really helps with affordability.
right,
Um, and some of the things on the lender side, that may be out there, and people need to seek this out, right? Because there are affordable loan products, right? So depending on your income level or perhaps where the property is located, you might qualify for what's like an actual product that's called an affordable loan product, which is going to come at a lower interest rate. Oftentimes, too, these same products can come with closing cost assistance. Closing cost assistance from the lender is where, based on certain parameters, and they can really vary, right? We have, I probably can't even tell you how many different types of closing cost assistance programs that
oh,
we
wow.
offer at
Yes.
Citizens, because some are based on area, like where you're living.
Right.
Some are
Right,
based on income. Some are based, like some you have to be a first-time home buyer, some you don't
right,
have to be a first-time home buyer. So, these are all things that, I always encourage, especially for somebody who's first time, buying a home,
right,
to really have a good long conversation with a loan officer or a mortgage broker that really knows that part of the market and knows the different programs that are available,
Right.
in
right,
and this is like and of course, like most people have heard of like FHA loans, and
right,
those are another type of affordable product. In New York, we have something called Sony May, which is a bond program, which also has closing cost assistance that comes with it. So just like a lot of different types of programs in that way.
And certainly the VA loans
right.
actually offer
VA
a lot of
loans,
assistance.
You don't have to put anything down,
Yeah,
right?
and those are
yeah.
amazing, but they're hard to navigate initially, and they do take a little bit longer. But in the end,
Yeah.
the person, certainly saves a
If they
lot of
have the
money.
VA
Yeah,
benefit, like,
Yes,
that's for many folks, that's the only way that they're going to be able to buy a home, right?
right.
Because you
Yeah.
literally don't have to put any money down.
Correct, which is amazing to me, right?
Yeah.
It's
Yes.
unbelievable.
and it only adds. I'd say, my experience has been it adds an extra probably 30 days to the process. It just takes a little bit longer.
Again, I would say probably if somebody was working with me, yeah, it would add 30 days because I don't do a lot of VA loans. But if you're working with like my colleague Nancy, who specializes in that,
Right,
she can, she can do those loans like the back of her hand, right?
right,
So again, I think that would be, it's important to work with a loan officer on
right,
any of those special programs. Same thing with Sony May with the bond
right.
programs, because like Michelle, I have found that those can have a much longer, processing period. But again, if you're working with someone that is really schooled in that, then, hopefully it won't add as much time.
Do,
Um,
do these programs, Maria, do these programs have a different kind of appraisal? For I know like FHA look for certain things, the house can't
some
be
of
in
them
a
do,
certain
yeah.
condition.
So,
But what about the Sony May loans?
well, FHA, They actually relaxed a lot of their appraisal requirements from
Okay,
years ago. So but it is a different appraisal. You have to order,
right,
it's a specific for FHA loans.
right.
Same thing for VA, specific for VA loans. For Sony May, I don't think that it's a specific appraisal, um, but definitely for FHA and VA.
Right.
Okay.
Yeah.
So in terms of for the buyer, there are definitely things that could be done to really assist them in buying a house, even possibly buying down their mortgage, right, their points. Can,
Yeah, I mean, using, look, if you can get a seller's credit, right, that can be used to paying
right,
points to buy the rate down. If you buy the rate down, then you're going to have a lower rate, which means you're going to have a lower payment, which means, your
it's more
monthly
affordable.
expense is going to be
Right.
more affordable. Um, I just recently closed a loan with a client that came to me who had done her own research with NHS of New York City, and she qualified for a $100,000 forgivable loan.
Oh,
This is a
Wow.
community, it's sort of well, it's not really a community program. The woman corrected me. It's not really a community program, but there are programs like this that do exist. She had to meet a minimum or maximum income requirement,
Right.
but she met that, and the property, she was buying a co-op. The co-op was in an HDFC building, so that met the requirements. And the way that this will work is instead of like borrowing, say, 400,000 from the bank, she only had to borrow 300,000. The other 100,000 is coming from the city.
right. I've done a few of
Yeah.
those. Yeah.
It's great.
But it has to be in a certain
You
location.
have to meet certain
Right.
criteria, and also it's forgivable as long as you keep the property for a minimum of 15 years.
Right.
Oh,
So,
interesting.
yeah,
So
so
there's product out there.
there is, yeah.
You just have to really search it and really work with the correct loan officer or banker who really is familiar with those resources
Right.
out there.
It's just hard to make it, when you're presenting your offer, the issue is, will the seller accept your offer
Yes.
based on all these
Right.
extra terms?
Yes.
Which makes it more difficult.
Right.
And I will say this too, right? You can't get approved for that type of loan until you're in contract and until you've been committed from the bank.
Right.
In
Right.
this particular instance, like she actually could qualify without it. So, but it did take longer. Like it took a good couple of months before her application was even reviewed. So she had to really negotiate with the seller up
Mhm.
front to ensure that she had the time that she needed to secure this,
Right.
Right.
this forgivable loan.
And putting yourself into a seller's shoes, I mean, they may not be comfortable
Right.
May not,
with
yes.
that.
Yeah.
So you
Right.
can't even get to the table, to even utilize these tools without that. So
Right.
when everyone's like, in a position where they're like in a frenzy, making the biggest offers they can, because there's no
Right.
inventory, and
Right.
that's the best offer you can. And so is anyone going to really
Liz,
accept a Sony May or,
they don't understand it even.
Right.
The broker will be, advise their seller not to take it or not even to
even
consider
with
it.
the like seller's concessions
Right.
and things like that,
Yeah.
people are concerned about things appraising. How do you,
Right.
with things being really overpriced right now, or, that
Right.
to add a concession, it is difficult.
Right.
Yeah,
Right.
you're not going to get the concession if it doesn't appraise, right?
No. It's interesting. Even I'm seeing a change in the market, but I just want to speak a little bit about the inventory and how we're going about it. I mean, there are different ways of dealing with buyers, right, who have not limited funds, but they need to be a little bit more creative when it comes to affordability, because as Leslie said, the prices tend to be very high now. And they're still high, especially in the Westchester market. I'm sure in other suburban markets around New York City. But I think what is, in terms of inventory, how do you increase it, right? You could rezone. They could do some rezoning. Commercial buildings can be used for apartments. They can make the approval process a lot quicker. It takes a long time for builders or developers. If they want to do even a spot, one lot, it takes time to get your drawings in, your approvals in. it really takes a lot of time. So if they can
Yeah.
speed up the process, I think that would help. And also create different kinds of, in terms of affordability, create multifamilies, right? Allowing people to buy and then think of somebody renting part of their home. So I think a multifamily development is something that would be important, and it also involves rezoning the area for making a denser community, right? And also, I read something interesting. This actually came across two news feeds this morning that they're thinking of
I can't hear you.
buying up a lot of institutional investors. They're trying to prevent them from buying up big, a lot of single family homes, because they're buying them up as investment properties. It really takes away from the individual person who needs to live in it for themselves.
Yeah.
Right.
That's interesting.
I just read two. I don't know if he'll be allowed. I don't know if President Trump is allowed to do this. I have no idea, but it came to me through two sources, one last night and one this morning, real estate publications. So it'd be interesting to see how they combat that. And
Yeah, for sure.
and also maybe utilizing public land for development, because I know in Westchester, there's not a lot of land around, right? Especially down county. You have a lot, maybe really north of 287, north of Mayapack, but in some southern part of Westchester, or even mid Westchester, there's just not a lot of land. Right.
And whatever land there is very expensive. So
Yeah. And it's
it has
expensive
to
to
make
build.
sense. Yeah,
you
it has
know?
to make sense
The
to a builder.
construction is expensive.
Right.
That's what we're finding is some of the problem as well, right? I mean, it's just a confluence of these factors. I actually got a piece of good news from that was relayed down to us last night, of change from Fannie and Freddie. That's actually a positive change, because we haven't really had many positive changes. And that is in that multifamily space. We oftentimes, especially in the boroughs in New York City, a lot in Long Island. I don't know if you have this as much in Westchester, but we'll come across multifamilies that also have an ADU. Like maybe they put like a basement.
Accessory units.
Well, we Fannie and Freddie have said, like, no, you can't do that. You have to remove a kitchen. It causes all sorts of issues.
Yes.
They are now allowing that and allowing income from the ADU to count towards qualifying for a loan. So I think that's going to be great for buyers, who need financing buying those types of properties. Yeah.
But also, I think, there are a lot of people to create inventory. A lot of people, baby boomers, they say they have nowhere to go, right? But I think that they're sitting on a lot of cash. Typically, they don't have mortgages at this point, but they don't want to sell. So what can you do to encourage them? The other thing that I did read is maybe minimize the capital gains, right? Because they probably have, even if they add all their improvements to the basis, it's still, I'm sure there's still
a hard pill to swallow. Yeah.
Right. They say, why am I doing this? So it doesn't
Right.
cost me much to live in the house. It'll cost me the same to rent a place or to buy
And
something else.
actually, sometimes would be more.
Exactly.
That's the problem. I mean,
Right.
if you have minimal costs to maintain your home, you know what you have to do versus going elsewhere and possibly taking on a mortgage or having to
pay assessments or whatever.
Extra expenses, to live in a condo where there's costs associated with monthly costs. Picking up.
So it's maybe if they eliminate the capital gains, it'll encourage people to sell, and and you have a lot more inventory. That's just housing that's sitting there, that's either occupied by baby boomers who live there part-time or don't live there at all. I mean, you often see empty homes. So people are traveling and they're down south for 6 months of the year. So it would be interesting to see if the government can do something like that.
Something like that. Yeah.
Yeah, I think you would see a lot of people really consider selling.
Yeah,
So
I agree.
on that note, I think we've exhausted the topic. And if anybody has any suggestions, give us a call. If not, we look forward to seeing you next week. And have a great
I will be
weekend.
in Italy next week, so you
Hi, that's right. You have a great
I'll
time.
try to watch you gals,
No,
depending on what
I'm
time you
jealous.
do.
Please don't. Have a great time.
Have a safe trip, safe travel. See you in 2
Thank
weeks.
you, and I'll see you in a
Be
couple
well.
weeks.
Bye bye,
Okay,
guys.